Have you ever felt completely alone in the universe? I used to feel that way too, until the universe showed up at my doorstep. I never believed in aliens, until they took me. Today, I'm going to share a story that seems like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie. It's about the night I was abducted by aliens and how that unbelievable experience turned into their biggest regret. You might be thinking it's all made up, but by the end of this story, you'll understand why I wish that were true. Before we dive in, let me assure you, every word of this story is true. I've lived through every bizarre detail of it, and the memories are as clear as if it happened just last night. And I promise, by the time we reach the end, you'll see why even the aliens regret their decision. This isn't just a tale of abduction, it's a story of survival, wit, and surprisingly, a bit of humor. So sit back, keep your eyes on the screen, and prepare for a journey that crosses the boundaries of our world and into the realms of the unknown. Don't forget to hit like if you're ready to hear about how I turned an alien nightmare into a cosmic blunder. They'll never forget. Stick around till the end because the twist in this tale is something you won't want to miss. And who knows? You might just start looking at the night sky a little differently after tonight. Life was pretty routine before that night. I lived in a small town, worked a 9-to-5 job, and my biggest concern was what to cook for dinner after a long day. My weekends were filled with the usual, maybe catching a movie or meeting up with friends for a drink. Nothing out of the ordinary, just the regular pulse of everyday life. And let me tell you, I was the last person you'd catch talking about UFOs or little green men. I was a skeptic through and through. The whole concept of aliens visiting Earth seemed like something out of cheap tabloids. I mean, with all the smartphones today, where were all the clear photos and videos? But then there were these little things, oddities that I brushed off at the time, like how my TV would randomly switch channels or my dog barking at seemingly nothing in the backyard. Or those nights I just couldn't sleep, feeling like someone or something was watching. I joked about it with my friends, blaming it on too much sci-fi before bed. Little did I know those were signs of what was to come. As days went by, these odd occurrences began to escalate. I started noticing strange patterns, like circular patches of scorched grass in the park where I jogged every morning, or a static hum in the air that seemed to follow me. But the real turning point was the night I saw a faint glow outside my window. A glow that didn't belong there, not from any street lamp or car headlights. That was the first real signal that my life was about to change forever. I remember thinking it must be some prank or maybe an electrical fault outside. But deep down I felt a stirring of something else, curiosity mixed with an unexplainable dread. It was as if every instinct was suddenly on high alert, telling me that something big was about to happen, something that would turn my skeptical beliefs on their head. It was just past midnight when it happened. I was jolted awake by a sound, something like a low hum, mixed with a high-pitched whirring that you'd expect from a wind turbine. I sat up, confused, my room bathed in an eerie blue light that definitely wasn't normal. I peeked through my blinds and my heart stopped. There, hovering just above the tree line, was a shape that defied all logic. It was massive, circular, and unlike anything I'd ever seen. I thought I must be dreaming that maybe. It was a bizarre effect of sleep paralysis, but no, I could move. I could feel the cool night air as I cracked open the window for a better look. And that sound, it grew louder, vibrating through every fiber of my being. I was terrified, yes, but also transfixed by what I was witnessing. As I watched, a beam of light shot down from the center of the craft and the world around me started to warp. My feet lifted off the ground, and I felt an overwhelming force pulling me upward. It wasn't painful, but it was irresistible, like gravity had flipped and the sky was now pulling me into its embrace. The next thing I knew, I was aboard the craft. The interior was stark, illuminated by the same blue light that had enveloped my house. The air was thick with a metallic scent, and my ears popped as if I were ascending in a fast-moving elevator. My mind raced. I was in shock, unable to process that this was really happening. Were they going to hurt me? What did they want with me? I kept telling myself it had to be a mistake. Maybe they thought I was someone else, or maybe it was all just a terrible error. I couldn't be an alien abductee. Things like this didn't happen to ordinary people like me. But as I stood there, surrounded by technology that looked as though it belonged in a movie, I had to face the reality of my situation. I was not on Earth anymore, I was not safe, and I was definitely not alone. The first moments aboard the ship were surreal. The hallways curved in ways that seemed to defy physics, lined with panels that pulsed with light. I was led, or rather floated, by beings that looked nothing like the little green men of popular culture. These creatures were tall, slender, and had a shimmering quality to their skin, almost translucent. Their eyes were large and expressive, filled with an intelligence that was both terrifying and fascinating. At first, panic was my primary emotion. My heart pounded in my chest as I tried to make sense of what was happening. Was this a nightmare? Would I ever see home again? But as the initial shock wore off, a different feeling took over. Curiosity. Despite my fear, I couldn't help but marvel at the technology around me. Devices that seemed to operate on thought alone, walls that morphed to create doorways when approached, and screens that displayed stars and galaxies in breathtaking detail. It soon became clear that the aliens had a purpose for me. I wasn't just a random abductee. I was part of something bigger. They didn't communicate with spoken words, but through a kind of telepathy. Feelings and images were projected directly into my mind, explaining their interest in Earth and its inhabitants. They were researchers, scientists of sorts, trying to understand the diversity of life in the universe. My fear began to mix with a sense of awe at their mission, even though I remained a reluctant guest. Over time, I began to see these aliens not as my captors but as beings with their own goals and emotions. They were curious about us, about me. They made mistakes too, underestimating my resolve and human ingenuity. In their eyes, I saw not malice but a drive akin to that of our greatest explorers and thinkers. This realization sparked a plan in me. If I could understand them, perhaps I could find a way to use their technology, their ways of thinking, to my advantage. Their technology was advanced, but it wasn't infallible. I noticed glitches, moments when their devices didn't function perfectly. These observations became the seeds of my escape plan. I was learning, adapting to their ways. And though they were far more advanced, they had underestimated the human capacity for adaptation and resilience. This would be their mistake, and my opportunity. Days, or maybe weeks, time seemed irrelevant aboard the ship, passed as I pieced together my plan. My observations had revealed a critical flaw in their security. The aliens relied heavily on biosignatures for access controls, but their system had trouble distinguishing similar emotional states. Fear and determination, it turned out, emitted similar signals to their sensors. My constant state of alert had inadvertently given me deeper access than any captive should have. With this knowledge, I began to act. I feigned compliance and calm, which allowed me further freedoms within the ship. I explored, quietly mapping out the layout, memorizing the patterns of the guards' patrols, and the timing of shifts. I learned how to manipulate some of their technology. Simple things at first, like opening and closing doors without triggering alarms. Each small victory made me bolder. One day, as I was taken to what looked like a control room for routine experiments, I noticed an unguarded panel. It was a risky move, but I managed to interface with it using the mental commands they had unwittingly taught me. I sent a command to open a hatch, ostensibly for maintenance. Instead, it was my route to freedom. The hatch led to a small escape pod, barely larger than a closet. I slipped inside, initiating the launch sequence with a mixture of hope and sheer terror. The pod jettisoned from the ship with a jolt, sending me hurtling back towards Earth. As the alien ship receded into the distance, my heart raced with the exhilaration of escape and the fear of what might come next. Had they noticed? Would they pursue? The descent was rough, re-entering Earth's atmosphere like a meteor. Flames licked the small window of the pod as it screamed through the sky. Then, with a tremendous splash, I landed in the ocean. I was free, but the battle was far from over. I had to survive the ocean, find land, and convince the world of my story. A story that sounded too wild to believe. Emerging from the ocean, I was a mixture of relief and disorientation. I had made it. Back to Earth, but the world I returned to felt alien in itself. My story, as I relayed it to authorities, was met with skepticism and disbelief. I had proof. I had brought back a device from the escape pod, a piece of alien technology. But even that wasn't enough. It was analyzed, questioned, and eventually dismissed as an elaborate hoax. My life post-abduction was filled with interviews, tests, and a lingering public doubt. The psychological impact was profound. I had nightmares, flashbacks to my time on the ship, and moments where I felt as if I was still there. The isolation was palpable. I was a curiosity to some, a madman to others. It was a battle not just to adjust to my old life, but to redefine my new reality. I had seen the universe from a perspective few ever would, and that changed everything. Then, something unexpected happened. The device I had brought back started to activate on its own. It seemed to be a communicator, and through it, I received a message. The aliens, they were reaching out. They had underestimated the resilience and cunning of a human being. They regretted taking me not because of what they had done to me, but because of what I now knew. I had seen their vulnerabilities, their secrets. This knowledge made me a threat, an unintended ambassador of human capability. Their message was clear. They needed me now more than I needed them. They proposed an exchange. More knowledge for my silence. But the tables had turned. I was no longer just a survivor. I was a negotiator with the upper hand. They had given me a glimpse of their world, and with that, the power to demand more than they were comfortable giving. It was a delicate dance of diplomacy and strategy, played out not with governments or corporations, but with beings from another world. Their regret was not just a moral awakening, but a strategic miscalculation. They realized too late that by choosing me, they had changed the course of interaction between our worlds forever. They feared me, not as a victim, but as a bearer of their weaknesses. Reflecting back on everything that happened, it's clear that my life will never be the same. Not just because I was taken by aliens, but because of how I responded to that challenge. It taught me that the universe is far more complex and mysterious than we ever imagined. Who would have thought that a regular person like me could play such a pivotal role in an interstellar incident? This experience has expanded my views on life, the universe, and our place in it. It's shown me that we are capable of more than we know, and sometimes it takes being pushed to our limits to really discover what we can do. The universe might be vast and unknown, but it's also filled with endless possibilities and connections that bind us all across any distance. And while the aliens might think twice before taking another human, who's to say what the future holds? I can't say for sure they'll ever give up, but one thing's for sure. They'll never forget me. And neither will I forget what I've learned about them. and about myself. If you've enjoyed this wild ride through space and self-discovery, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content. Have you ever experienced something that changed your life in unimaginable ways? Share your story in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you faced your own extraordinary challenges. And if you're curious about more stories like this, maybe it's time we explore further. Let me know what other mysteries you think we should investigate next. Could there be more out there waiting for us? What are your theories? Thanks for tuning in and joining me on this unbelievable journey. If you want to stay updated with more content like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our future adventures. What would you have done if you were in my shoes? Faced with the unknown, would you fight to understand or would you hope for a quick escape? Comment below and let's discuss the endless possibilities our universe has to offer. Thank you for your time and for sharing this moment with me. Your support means the world, and it's what keeps these stories alive and kicking. Until next time, keep looking up. You never know what you might see.